Hello everyone, Solar Warden Officer here, Jason Moss, JP Moss. Over on my son's YouTube account, if you look at Iron Stark 7301, Iron STARK, you'll see a video I uploaded a year ago in April 2014, speaking about the Solar Wardens of the 10th Fleet. And it was an update, it was being put out there as is. This is my, what you would call alleged experiences with alien abduction, alien contact, engaging this planet, whatnot. Ordinarily, we are as blunt and as frank and as open in private Facebook groups and private websites where people share their believed or alleged experiences of whatever they think is going on in their lives. And in this case, I decided to take this. I felt pulled to do it, and I did the video, and I made it, and I put it out there. And the video has had a remarkable number of negativity slamming it pretty hard. But on this video, I'm going to be not giving you something new, but something to look back at just for a minute in retrospect. It's now March 2015. If you look at the video and listen to what I'm telling you, and again, if people ever listen to what I'm telling them, that this is going to be an issue there. I'd fall over in my chair. But if you look at the video, you will see that, in fact, I'm talking about a global threat confronting the human race, which is the human race itself, and that I'd received this information from extraterrestrial beings who told me that in fact the human race is purged on the doorstep of nuclear annihilation, of a nuclear war. Now, at the time this video was made, and believe me, it got got a lot of negativity, a lot of hate mail, a lot of people calling me crazy. There was nothing in the media at the time detailing anything about any threat from either East or West or any kind of nuclear threat confronting the world in those days. Nothing. It wasn't being reported in the newspapers. It wasn't something being talked about. Let me just kindly guide your attention to recent events. It was reported. The United States, in the last few weeks, went to DEFCON 3. If you don't know what that means, defense contingency has 5 to 1. If it goes from DEFCON 5, 5 is peace, 4, 3 is a big threat. We haven't been there in many years. I can't think in my lifetime for a minute, in 42 years when we've hit 3. And 2 is they're arming the warheads, they're getting ready, they're opening the missile silos. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to be getting it into shelters. 1 is, that's it, NORAD, the Defense Command Center of the United States, and over in Russia are in fact getting ready, they're launching their weapons. That's it. Global nuclear war is now taking place. Now the video got laughed at, and I got called crazy. That's fine, but I think that because people don't really seem to have a train of thought and follow, they kind of read over what I'm putting out there. They're not really paying attention. Now, some of you are a part of a private group I have on Facebook that I started, detailing and talking about Solar Wardens of the 10th Fleet. And we have in that group people who work for the National Security Agency and a few others that I will not drop names, but they have in fact entered this group under the premise of getting in contact with people like myself, because they know that extraterrestrial civilizations are engaging this planet and taking people or contacting them or telling them things. And through a cooperative, peaceful cooperative initiative, as I've been instructed, this information, whatever I receive, it is imbued upon me the responsibility to share that information to these people wherever I can find them. And that the medium is either through YouTube, through the internet, because human beings are not telepathic. They can't communicate by that medium. This is the only medium that can be done. The videos reach who they need to reach. It's whether or not I care or not care about the negativity. It's simply, again, the human race is speaking. And the human race would much rather receive frontline news about bacteria and found on Mars and some grains of dust that might have some life that lived 1 billion years ago from some moon out there by Jupiter. I think that it's all down to the fear factor. And wait for it, here it comes. The fear factor would be that if you could see, or if you could walk into my life and see and experience what I've experienced, I think a lot of you, well, you wouldn't be making YouTube videos about this. You'd be ending up, you'd probably need, I would imagine, a great deal of medicating and sedating, for one. I have seen videos where people have, in Australia and other parts of the world, have videotaped EBEs, extra biological entity contacts, or aliens, that non-human intelligences that have been seen on this planet. Now, while many people call them hoaxers, you hear in the, what's most important is to listen, don't look at the alien, the alleged alien in the video. Pay careful attention to the person making the video. You often hear these people are breathing very heavily, they're very frightened, they're in extreme panic. Their lives are being turned upside down, and their comfort zone, as we learned in the search and rescue team I was in many years ago, we learned about the PEZ, P-E-Z. And I'm not talking about the candy, it's an acronym for the Protected Environment Zone that most people psychologically live inside of. That was part of our search and rescue, National Association for Search and Rescue Training Level 1, Intermediate, Level 2, Level 3 is instructor level, and advanced. And having gone through this training, which was extensive for a search and rescue team back in the days, back in the 1990s, we learned a great deal. We've read a few chapters about people's protected environment zones and why people will not venture out of their homes into a damaged area to search for people, why they like to follow the trail of least line of resistance, which means they like to follow a trail that doesn't have any debris on it. These are important factors in human psychology. That human beings will not walk through a debris field where tornadoes ripped apart a city or a town. They like to walk through where there's a path. And often this kind of understanding in psychology in human beings, also you may find victims sitting in places that look comfortable. They may be in a park. We've been to towns in Texas where tornadoes have ravaged the city of Lancaster in 1994. And our search team went out there searching for victims. And we found some of these people were seated out in parking lots where there wasn't any debris at all. And it was in fact, some of these people went to parks. The whole city of Lancaster outside Dallas, Texas was completely gone. It was leveled by an F4 tornado. And we noticed a lot of the victims weren't there just to get away from debris or something that may fall on them. There was a church that was undamaged, which was rather bizarre. There was an undamaged Baptist church, and there were people in the church. And the reason that they were in this building or out in this park or parking lot, and by the way, the shopping malls had all 45, 50 cars blown into the grocery store, and F4 is a very powerful beast. And having walked through and having chased these things in my life, because I have Skywarn training with the National Weather Service, and having chased these things in my life and come close to funnel clouds and seen the hand of God reaching down on this planet, ready to smite away the building of man and anything that man finds as a comfort zone, and having felt the thunder and the roar of these tornadoes pounding in your chest, causing your ears to burst, your nose to bleed if you get too close to it. There's a barometric pressure drop, and you can even feel the ground shaking. It can even cause a seismographic shake on the ground. Why am I taking through my former career as a search and rescue officer, in which I was a captain? Why am I taking you through this for a minute? I'm taking you the viewer, into a place where you have no PEZ, Protected Environment Zone, of which I am extremely accustomed to dealing with those kinds of environments which would scare the absolute hell out of you. And we had a few volunteer firemen go searching with us looking for a little girl. And there was one young lady that I remember who was a volunteer fireman, bless her heart. She took off out to find this child that went missing out near there was some swamps near our property, some tall grass, and we had trees out there. And it was at nighttime. We had flashlights. Nothing was damaged. Nothing was destroyed. It was simply a search and rescue for a lost child that may have wandered off into the forest and tall grasslands out in Texas at night. And we were all walking around and doing this with our flashlights, looking around. And this girl looked at me. I remember when she turned and looked at me, this look in her face suddenly went pale. And she stopped and she started freaking out. She said, I feel like I'm out here in the middle. Where am I? She says. I says, we just come off the road, about 400 yards back that direction. She's getting turned around. One of our trainings we learn in search and rescue is when you're out in a forest, the brain, human beings like structure. You don't realize how dependent you are on sidewalks, streets, buildings, and landmarks. This creates your world and makes you feel safe. It's not so much what you're hearing in the media, it's your landmarks, your buildings, your lampposts, your sidewalks, and things like this. When you put a person without training out into a field, in the middle of a forest, in tall grass, and say, now go call out this girl, Amy, in the darkness and wander about, you can get what's called vertigo. Your head will start to spin. You don't have any landmarks anymore. You don't have any identifying features that give you a sense of safety. She was ripped right out of that environment. Although she was a volunteer fireman, had a few years' experience, had fought fires, saved lives, she was a hero. Put her out in the middle of a dark field at night with forests and a bunch of guys in orange search and rescue jumpsuits, and she suddenly went into this super blown panic attack. We had to get her out of that field, and she became a casualty, and brought her back up, oh God, to the Azle ambulance. It was Azle Fire Department's Azle ambulance. We had to get her in the back of this ambulance. The paramedics took over, gave her oxygen. They gave her an injection to sedate her. She had what the paramedics called one massive, massive panic attack. Now, those of us who are trained to deal and are accustomed with bizarre, the absence of protected environment zones of any kind, no landmarks, no safety features or psychological safety nets, understood with our experience. I was in my 20s then, what was happening to her, and I told her. I explained what I just said to you in the video, and it made her feel better, but she had to be pulled off the scene. Now, you may laugh, you may think this man, I can back up all my credentials in the search and rescue team. I can show you my certifications. I can give you everything that ties back to the state of Texas. I've got everything I can. I've even authored a book. It's a 365 page book, 360-page book, dedicated to the late Frank Clark. It's entitled North Central Texas Search and Rescue. It's a complete history of the search and rescue team. The man that started it, he was a veteran fireman, paramedic, and police officer for 30 years. A dear man. He died in 2012, like a father to me. And if you go to my lulu.com, JP Moss, you can see the book is sitting there. It's selling. The co-founder, Russell Harold, he's in his 60s, retired, living in New York City. Bought a copy, loved it. It's dedicated to Frank and Russell because he was the co-founder. Again, these are Vietnam veterans. They've served their country. Russell's been a paramedic and firefighter for many, many, many years. And also NASAR trained. These gentlemen took us through our NASAR courses, which you don't understand. Frank and Russell were the kind of people that could take you through and say, don't stop getting certifications. Don't stop learning. Keep learning. Keep getting certified. Before Frank died at 64, He had gone off to get his meteorology degree of 5 years in his 40s. He'd completed his doctorates. He'd completed loads and loads and loads of other degrees in meteorology and psychology. The guy was a genius, and everything he ever predicted came true. And he was a hell of a role model, loved him very dearly. And I wrote the book. It took me 3 weeks to write that book. 3 weeks. I busted my ass. The pain of losing him. I was lucky enough to get on the phone with Frank and tell him goodbye. He said, I love you, sir. See you in the afterlife. And he had liver failure and he died. God bless his soul. And I got his son, Cliff, who's a police officer. Cliff, his son, is a close friend of mine. He's what you would call an anti-terrorist, anti-insurgency FBI police officer. He's top dog. He's following his father's footsteps. He'd been a police officer for many years. Family in Texas. My sister Stella. He was married to her, and is the father of my niece Hayden. So it was a very family-run organization. Now, not that Frank ever got into UFOs. He used to chide me on this point. But what I'm bringing to you, I would never lie to you. I would never ever ask you to believe me, but I would never lie to you. I come from this stock. This is my background. I don't drink. I don't smoke pot. I don't want you to do it either. I don't do any drugs. I don't go to parties. I don't have any social life. And I'm bringing you exactly what has happened. But I think the problem is, with me, is that sometimes I come off like a field report from a search and rescue call, and I'm very blunt and to the point and straight, yada, 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 yada. I am an experiencer of the paranormal, and I have had engaging contacts with EBEs, or extra-biologic entities, or beings that are not of this world, but that's not what's important. In fact, the whole point of the video was not about, in fact, none of these videos I've ever brought you are ever about aliens. It's about the message that they're bringing me to bring you, that you're going to blow yourselves into kingdom come. You're going to bring on your own Armageddon. I'm going to be very blunt about this. You're going to bring on your own Armageddon. You're going to blow yourselves up. Okay? You can cuss me, I don't care what you do. But listen to me. Listen to me carefully. You're going to blow yourselves to kingdom come. Okay? You're going to blow your cities off the planet. Your violent rage, your arrogance, your ego, your habitual lying to each other and cover-ups, your constant distrust of, whenever I bring you about the issues of the CIA and me are not distrust or paranoia. It is a fact. I'm bringing you the fact of what's happened in my life. And about the actress, and that I am her son, Annette Funicello, that I am her lost son. That this is a fact. And I am compiling a book on that. It's a rather thick book with all the details and the information I've obtained and what she brought to me. And this can be verified through the Freedom of Information Act. And you can find this information. You can find this. It is true the CIA are running missions against me. They are running to keep me isolated from everyone in my life. They are running to do this. Why, I don't know. I don't work for them. I have no dealing with these people in that respect. Back in the search and rescue team, we even had issues then. Frank and Russell ran across this then. There were people that wanted to join the team and went to bust things up in the team. Well, Frank and Russell, and I've been keeping this to myself, in fact, discovered a lot of what I've been bringing to you about the CIA, because these guys had connections, and they had friends in the FBI. So they found a lot of information there, right there. Tons of information. And though at the time it didn't make any sense to me, why would this be happening to me at the time in the 1990s? And they didn't know either, because you have to be working for them or get into those files to see, oh, it's connected to this actress and he's her son. You'd have to be doing this at the time to get this information. Well, in any case, there it is. Here we are, March 2015. The world is being confronted with a threat of nuclear war. It has been coming up on the newspapers. It has been coming up. It has been resurfacing. It's surfacing coming out there. And the message that I'm going to bring you is, yes, absolutely, you're going to blow yourselves to bits. That's it. Okay, you simply cannot overcome your petty squabbles. The second message I'm going to bring you is, don't fear anything. Don't panic. There's help. Help has arrived. It's not making it. They're not going to make themselves very, 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 very. Here we are in your face. You may see swarms of UFO reportings over California. Expect more of them. You may see and hear reports of things happening around the silos, where suddenly they're noticing that their equipment's being switched on and off again, and the messages are being given to the current governments of today that was given back in the 1970s. We're in control here, not you. We can prevent you from blowing yourselves up. You don't know when to stop doing this. These are civilizations who have seen and witnessed civilizations in the galactic history blow themselves into extinction. Your Hollywood films are garbage. They're always talking about alien invasion. That's not going to happen. Your biggest threat is you. You. With your it's all about me attitudes, it's all about me, you are going to blow yourselves to pieces. It is an inevitable fact that if this planet was left alone and the beings that are here now weren't here, you would all be gone right now. You'd have wiped out three-fifths of all life on this planet with your petty squabbles in a nuclear nightmare. It is a fact. Fact. Live with it. You did not overcome your nuclear war, your Cold War with Russia, because you have developed and you advanced yourself. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. That is a complete falsehood. You have never developed beyond your desire for destruction as a means of control, and eliminate and annihilate and harm, rape, and whatever else you can do in the name of your need for your animal instinct for control. The Dalai Lama has a lot of faith in you. Says that your core instinct, you are generous beings. You're generous human beings. That is true. At the core of all humanity, there is generosity. But it is often ignored in place of greed, lust, desire, and fear.